Fist of the North Star is an animated movie, and you can't deny that. It's also a long-running Japanese comic, or as the kids call it today, magma, and has spawned several animated videos, television shows, video games, and even a live-action movie that featured Downtown Julie Brown. If you're under 30, Downtown Julie Brown was on MTV back when the M meant music. Anyway, Fist of the North Star was one of the first anime/Japanimation/OVAs I'd ever seen. Not including things on TV like Robotech or Voltron or Transor Z. Why am I reviewing this video? Well, mostly to see if it's any good almost 30 years after its release. Well, let's find out. The movie opens with a voiceover explaining that Earth has survived a nuclear war. Then they show some beautiful and serene shots of Earth, and it's probably the best art in the entire movie. Why this went on for 2 minutes, I don't know. Eventually they show us the nuclear war and people dying. Then their bodies puking up smoky souls, and that's never explained or referenced again. There are some shots of the aftermath. I really think this is an awesome shot, but how in the hell did a nuke cause a boat to get up there? Or here? Or here? Oh wait, that doesn't count. That actually happened. We're then introduced to the hero of the film, Kenshiro, who is the Fist of the North Star, and his girlfriend, Julia, who is the woman in constant peril. They talk about how the world is dying, and where the hell did these guys come from? This is Shin, the Fist of the South Star. What does it mean to be one of the Star Fists? Is there a Fist of the East Star? I don't know, the movie never explains any of this. They should make a Broadway musical explaining their backstories. Shin says he's going to take Julia since he's the strongest. Watching this event are Ken's brother Jaggy and Rao. Jaggy is trying to convince Rao to get involved, or at least beat up the winner after the fight is done. They just watch though, and how they're here is left to question as well. Shin and Ken fight. Kinda. They kick past each other, and somehow Ken starts bleeding from his joints. Shin wants Julia to come with him, and she refuses. Shin attempts to change Julia's mind by poking his fingers through Ken's chest, and Julie relents, leaving Ken there to die. This scene is torture. Not what Shin is doing to Ken, but what the movie is doing to me. This scene is awful, and they keep having those lines of force behind characters while they're shouting. Jumping or running fast? Sure. But talking? Jaggy decides to finish his brother off by throwing him into a chasm, then punching the cliffside down after him. Right away, you'll notice a common problem with the animation of this movie. Positions, perspectives, and size ratios change from shot to the point that some things don't make any sense. This cliff face disintegrates to dust on the way down, making it seem like a fairly dumb action. And if he can punch that hard, why not just hit Ken directly? He can't fight back, and then you'll know he's dead. We then cut to Rao going to a temple and demanding that Ryukin name him the new Fist of the North Star.
I am Fist of the North Star.
I don't agree, and I never shall.
Rao shows how powerful he is by shooting some kind of magic stuff and destroying statues and then crushing their heads. Ryukin is still not impressed and throws him out. Rao later claims that he killed Ryukin, but I like to think that he died to some kind of uncontrolled menstruation. Rao then goes to a mountaintop and demands the gods show him the secrets of the universe or something. Not sure what he learned by seeing planets and stuff, but I guess it works since he's even more badass when we next see him. Elsewhere, this kid Bat is running from a biker gang in a dune buggy with his mute friend Lynn. And physics be damned, Bat air swimming back to his buggy is hilarious. They crash and the bikers start looting and threaten to squish Lynn. This causes her to let out a psychic scream that appears to cause an explosion a mile away. She actually summoned, a golem? Golems were made of clay in Jewish legend long before it was a Lord of the Rings character. It walks slowly towards them and causes a bunch of needless destruction. Oh, wait, I guess it's not a golem, it's Jesus, another Jewish legend. Actually, it's Kenshiro, but why he was there, or how he walked a mile at that speed and still got to them so quick, of course, is not explained. All of these questions are immediately lost in the viewer's mind as the movie cranks up the crazy where it remains for the rest of the movie. Being punched by Ken makes your head explode. It also makes the screen blurry for some reason. They take Ken back to their village where another biker gang attacks. For some reason the building he's in is barred from the outside, but Ken just punches it and it explodes in slow motion. Ken makes short work of the underlings and faces off against the gang leader. He tickles him to death? Why is he twice as big all of a sudden? Ken heals Lynn's muteness and then leaves. We then get to meet one of my all-time favorite animated characters, Ray. I'm not even sure why I like him so much. Maybe it's just this great introduction.
Hey, these belong to you?
Ray is looking for his sister and believes that Ken has her captive. We learn that Ken's brother Jaggy is impersonating him, so Ray and Ken go off to get Ray's sister back. They show Jaggy remembering how he challenged Ken in the past, and that's why his head is all bandaged or under a mask. I have to give the movie a lot of credit here. The flashback is in first-person perspective. This is one of the few movies I've ever seen do this, and more should. Jaggy's hideout is guarded by a big fat guy. That's not redundant, he's really fat and at least 20 feet tall. This leads to Ken using his Quagmire Kung Fu. And the grossest death in the movie. And that's quite a title. Just look at this blood geyser. Ray and Ken get inside and Jaggy is holding Ray's sister hostage and says if Ray kills Ken, he'll let her go. Ken convinces Ray not to bother, since he'd rather not explode his head, and gets Jaggy to fight him one-on-one, with predictable results. Before Jaggy dies, Jaggy reveals that he went all worm tongue, and convinced Shin to kidnap Julia, and convinced Rao to take over the wasteland. Ken laments the death of his brother, while Ray makes lunch meat of the remaining bad guys. Rao is shown commanding an army, or at the very least a convoy. How do they have cars anyway?
On Earth, this balance was disrupted by a nuclear holocaust, which rendered technology useless.
Rao's army is getting territory from some barbarians. This battle is overflowing with beheadings and bifurcations. It has more dismemberment than Guns N' Roses. Alright, that's a bit of a stretch. The barbarian leader gets involved and somehow is 30 feet tall and can turn to steel. Rao waves his hand around and the barbarian says he doesn't believe in magic. So I guess there's a scientific reason why you can turn to steel? Well, Rao wins, of course. However, his voice seems awfully familiar.
Now you really made me mad, asshole.
We go back to Julia, who has learned Ken is alive and starts to escape. First by getting naked and showing us the most tragic result of the apocalypse. Women have no nipples. She escapes through an underground tunnel and runs into... Rao? How in the hell did he get here? Well, she's captured again. Hope those 5 minutes of freedom were awesome. Oh, I guess they weren't. Rao then fights Shin, off-screen, and Shin sits in a chair waiting for Ken to arrive. Their fight is only one landed punch, but we learn that Rao used some kind of delayed reaction punch, and Shin dies. I haven't mentioned this until now, but another feature of the Wasteland is that blood goes up, but does not ever come down. Rao is having a parade where Bat, Lin, and Ray notice that Julia is now in Rao's custody. They sneak her a flower, which Rao finds, and punishes her, since he doesn't want anyone to have hope. Ray confronts Rao's general, who... did he just pull those whips out of his head? Ray gibs him, and is now face-to-face with Rao. They fight, mostly in slow motion, to a cheesy song that's half in English. But whatever, Ray's gonna show him. Ray's gonna, lose to a cape. Ken has been walking slowly with his eyes closed and sideways for some reason. Well, Ken senses what's going on and runs there. He's pretty quick when he's motivated. He arrives just in time to see Ray die. It's all led up to this. Ken versus Rao. They punch the plasma out of each other, causing destruction about the city and even knocking Julia's crucifix down. Then they start flying and Ken loses. The hero loses. Ken's face down and out, and Rao learns his lesson and leaves. And Julia is gone. So Ken just starts walking in and finds a forest. The end. What? Well, that's Fist of the North Star. So, does it hold up? No, not really. It isn't all that good. However, I love it. Look, I can't recommend this to anyone, but it's just so over the top and silly that even the parts that don't make sense are great. In fact, especially those parts. It's so unnecessarily violent, and everyone is just so badass. It's crazy and bloody and a lot of fun, even if I can't call it good. Anyway, I'm Franco, and this is my own damn opinion.
Your point?
I already made my point, jerk.